Chapter 61:34. Although now that things have come to light step by step, Charlie knows that the vase fell to the ground when his father-in-law was looking at it in the store. But his behavior at that time was indeed very unscrupulous. He thought that he accidentally broken a vase worth millions. His first thought was not to find a way to repair it, but to leave Charlie there as a backup. He immediately ran away. What's the point of getting a slap for this? But Jacob didn't think so. After all, he was very old. It was very embarrassing to be picked up from the street by a gang of people. When those guys picked him up, they were not polite with their hands and punched him. He still got beaten at such an old age. How can he swallow this? Moreover, according to the news he received, Liang Yun disappeared from Orris Hill after that incident. And he had no chance to take revenge even if he wanted to. Irvin on the other end of the phone was still very angry when he heard Jacob mention Liang Yun. And he felt relieved, knowing that he had read the pulse correctly. So he said flatteringly, if President Wilson wants to take revenge, there is a chance. There is a chance. Jacob couldn't hear what Irvin said, but said angrily, this grandson disappeared a long time ago. I guessed he is no longer in Orris Hill. Where can I seek revenge from him? Irvin hurriedly said, President Wilson, I am calling you to tell you the good news. Liang Yun has returned to Orris Hill, and he plans to open a store in Antique Street. What did you say? When Jacob heard this, he stood up immediately and asked in a somewhat excited tone. The BA5-tard named Jew is back to Orris Hill Antique Street to open a shop. Is he just hanging around outside, or is he just messing around? In Jacob's mind, there are two possibilities for Liang Yun to return to Orris Hill. One is that he is very good outside, rich and powerful, and returns to Orris Hill to open a shop, so as to get back the favor of Antique Shop. The face of being expelled, but the other is the complete opposite, that he could no longer survive outside, and had no choice but to return to Orris Hill to beg for food. If it is the former, then there is no hope of revenge. But if it is the latter, then there is a chance for revenge. Irvin replied, President Wilson, to be honest, I haven't seen him in person. But from the news I received, he shouldn't be doing well outside. He just wants to hang out in the Antique Street when he comes back this time. Doing some small business doesn't look like he has become a big man outside. Jacob burst out laughing, ha ha. I think this BA5-tard has been miserable outside and has no other way out. So he's coming back to Orris Hill with a face and wants to find a job. It's really God's vision. Irvin said with a smile, President Wilson, if you want to find a chance to avenge the slap in the face by him, I can help you. Jacob immediately said, that's great. Aren't you working for Mr. Orville? Tomorrow, bring some more boys, find him, and give him a good beating. Irvin said in astonishment, President Wilson, this kind of thing. Isn't it a bit too unskilled? Jacob blurted out, wasn't it also unskilled when he hit me? Irvin quickly explained, President Wilson, that's not what I meant. I just think that since I have offended you, then if we want to punish him, we should punish him severely. At the very least, we must make him lose face in Orris Hill. Be unable to survive, and get out of the house. When he cannot survive and wants to leave, I will find him again. If someone beats him up, it's called beating a drowned dog. Only in this way can you relieve the hatred in your heart, don't you think so? Jacob was overjoyed and immediately said, it makes sense. What you said makes sense. Irvin said, if you have no objection, President Wilson, then I will start to do this. Okay. Jacob said without hesitation. You will do what you said. Irvin smiled and said, okay, President Wilson, just wait for my good news. Jacob said, I can't wait any longer. If you have any situation, just synchronize with me as soon as possible. Okay. Irvin said, I'll think about how to start. And I'll report to you as soon as I figure out a plan. Okay. I'll wait for your words. With that said, he hung up Irvin's phone with satisfaction. At this time, Charlie couldn't help but curse in his heart. This BA5-tard Irvin was really too shrewd. He even remembered Peter's revenge for my father-in-law. Moreover, Peter had just arrived in Orris Hill today and he had received the news. The efficiency is really fast. It's just that Irvin wouldn't know his relationship with Peter even if he beat him to death. Otherwise, even if he was given 100 courageous, he wouldn't dare to think about causing trouble for Peter. At this time, Claire on the side stopped collecting the dishes and said to Jacob righteously, "Dad, you caused such a big trouble in that shop that day, breaking millions worth of vases. And after that, you just ran away. If I were the manager there, I might have not been able to control myself and hit people." Jacob snorted, "It's my business to run away, but he can't hit me. It's not right for him to hit me." Claire shook her head helplessly and said seriously, "Dad, you must not let Irvin go find trouble with others. We can't do such an embarrassing thing." Jacob said impatiently, "Oh, I know what you're doing, so don't worry about it." Charlie, who had been silent all this time, had multiple thoughts flashing through his mind. He didn't want to see Peter, a heroic figure who would rather risk his life by going against the Rothschild family, now still being bullied in a rotten place like Orris Hill Antique Street. Therefore, his first thought was to call Orville and ask him to keep a close eye on the Antique Street. Anyone who dared to cause trouble for Peter would be killed in the cradle as soon as possible. But he also knew that a person like Peter, who had seen big storms and even the Rothschild family dared to be tough, would probably not be willing to be protected in a place like Orris Hill. This kind of person is good at solving problems, even the smallest details. The problem should still come easily to him. After thinking about it again and again, Charlie decided not to interfere too much for the time being and let Peter deal with the local snakes in Orris Hill on his own. He was keeping an eye on it secretly. As long as the soldiers, including his father-in-law, didn't go too far, he believed Peter would be able to deal with it. So, he deliberately said to Jacob, "Dad, if that kid Irvin comes up with any ideas, you should tell me when the time comes, and I will also give you some advice." How did Jacob know that Charlie and Peter were now together? Because of the relationship? He thought that Charlie was also dissatisfied with the original incident. So he patted his chest and said, "Good son-in-law, don't worry, Dad will communicate with you in time if there is any progress in this matter."